On this episode of Ask Judge Edie, we are going to talk about guardianship.
Okay, absolutely. Guardianships is an area that the probate court is responsible for. On a few issues, we issue temporary guardianships of minors. There's some compromises of claims. Those are things that deal with minors. But most custody arrangements, most juvenile issues go through the juvenile court, but there are a few guardianships that we issue for minors. Primarily, we deal with guardianships for incapacitated adults, and that might be a child who has developmental disabilities that has reached adulthood, or it might be someone who's had an accident or illness that has caused an incapacity. It could be temporary or permanent. Also, we deal with guardianships for a person that's incapacitated due to age, not able to handle their own personal care or their own financial care. There's actually two different terms. A guardianship typically deals with a guardianship of the person, and that's a guardian of a person would be responsible for their health care, where they live, making sure their basic needs are provided for, and just acting in the best interest of that person as regard to their person, that individual regard to their person. A conservator is what used to be known in Georgia law as a guardian of the property, and that changed not so many years ago, and we now have a conservator position, and that person is responsible for the financial care of someone who's not able to handle their own financial issues. So they would pay bills, collect assets, be responsible for investing those assets, just making sure that the financial affairs of an incapacitated person are cared for and taken care of.
Essentially, I didn't realize all that, and not to make light of it, but there's probably a lot of people that could benefit by someone taking over the ability of managing their money and stuff. Because there's a lot of things that aren't taught there, how to keep up with things, but what the context you're talking about is obviously someone just needs help because there's some maybe it could be a mental issue, maybe it could be whatever's going on that they need help with all that. And I think that's important that there's a process that deals with all that.
Right. And again, this is someone who's not able to handle their own affairs. Mm-hmm. Again, as a practicing attorney, and there are other means, powers of attorney and mm-hmm. those types of things that can address those issues. A guardianship would be generally if there's not that type of vehicle in place.
Gotcha.
So, and a guardian is responsible to the court, and so I'm responsible for overseeing all the activities of both guardians of the person and conservators of the property. When you're appointed for the ward, there's a fiduciary duty to act in the ward's best interest, and it's the court's responsibility to oversee those activities. They report to the court. They get permissions from the court for certain activities. So all of that, it comes under the purview of this court.
Gotcha. I think this is where this comes into play, and I just got to think of this as we were talking. In years past, obviously, we all went through the Great Recession in the past few years,
right.
And because we do a lot of property management, several banks got us to be. We were managing the property. They also wanted us to kind of be able to take charge and take control over the property for maybe someone that was in default of a loan.
Okay.
Does that, I know sometimes that's a court-appointed scenario, a lot of times in a part of the closing documents or someone's loan, it could basically state, the term has lost me at the moment, but.
Is it trustee or receivership?
Receivership, yes, receivership. Does that come into this court, or is it a different court here?
No, that's a different court. That would probably be Superior Court.
Okay.
But it's similar in that those are both fiduciary responsibilities. And a fiduciary responsibility, we have a number of different kinds of fiduciaries, but a fiduciary responsibility means that you have the highest obligation, the highest duty to act in the best interest of another person. And so a trustee has that fiduciary obligation, a receiver has that fiduciary obligation, an executor or an administrator has that fiduciary obligation to act in the best interest of some other parties that they're acting on their behalf, basically.
Absolutely, and being that have been in that receivership position more than one time, I mean, it's a lot of responsibility, and that's where
right.
Not just take the first quote you get three or more quotes, and make sure that it's a necessary thing, and document everything the right way. So that's interesting. But I've just got thinking, I'm good to know that that's slightly outside of this particular court, but still within the whole confines of what's here.
Right,
So,
of fiduciary obligations.
Very good. Right. Well, you've answered a lot of questions for me and hopefully for our audience here.
Absolutely.
And if you got questions for Judge Edie that is involving guardianship, yeah.
Guardianships, right?
Please comment below and we'll do our best to get those answered for you.
Thanks so much.